Hi everyone, Kim from Expression Artworks. I am making something really fun for you today. It's going to be a coastal cutting board. So I got this cutting board, by the way, great size and quality from Walmart. So I was pretty impressed and definitely will be getting this cutting board again. So I started with Dixie Belle paint. The color's called Stormy Seas. And I guess the best way to describe it would be like a nice dark charcoal gray with a hint of blue in it. So very cool color. And I was inspired with this project because I was watching one of my crafters that I like, one of her videos, and she was making a project like this using a cutting board, but she was making it more farmhousey, whereas me, I'm turning it into more of a coastal themed cutting board. And I just was really like loving the way she did it and watching the video, and I said, okay, I'd definitely like to try this, but just change it up. So what I did after I dried the background, then I took a candle and I just added some wax in random areas of the cutting board because that's going to create a chippy style look, and that's what I'm looking for. And here I'm just using different colors of chalk paint and making stripes. You do not have to follow a pattern. You can mix and match where you want the colors. You could have the stripes as thin or thick as you would like. So basically you're just creating, it's your piece and you're going to do what you would like. And of course I was experimenting. I had never done this before, so I may do it a little differently the next time, but it was still a lot of fun to make and create. So I'm using Dixie Belle Sandbar. I'm using Waverly Dusk, which is the blue. The yellow is called Summer Porch, and I believe that's by Deco Art. And then the last color that I'm using, which is like a very light pale green, minty green, that's by Folk Art, and that is called Seaside Villas. So those were the four colors that I used, and again I just randomly put them on. I didn't put it on as far as, having a pattern, but I might do that the next time. And I might make my stripes a little thinner the next time, and using different colors. But like I said, this was the first time I was trying this, and it was a lot of fun to make. Once I applied my first coat, then I went ahead and dried each piece. I dried the board, and then I decided to do a second coat because I wanted those colors to be a little deeper. So yeah, here I am applying the second coat. And again, that one is Sandbar by Dixie Belle. The blue is Dusk by Waverly. The yellow is Summer Porch by Deco Art. And then Seaside Villa by Folk Art. Looks a little bit more blue in the picture, but it really is more of a minty or green. I think it just looked a little bit bluer over the charcoal gray. So I gave it a good dry again. And then I was ready for my next step, which was scraping. So again, like I said, I had added that wax before I added the striping. So by going over with a metal scraper, and of course you could use any scraper. You could use a metal scraper, a plastic scraper, any kind of tool that will scrape off some paint. And I just went ahead and I started at the bottom, worked my way to the top, and chipped off a lot of that paint. And then I gave it a really good sanding because I wanted the colors just to kind of come together a little bit more and also help take off some of that excess paint. So it gave it a nice chippy, distressed, weathered look. And from there, I took this cute little seahorse cutout that I got from Factory Direct Craft, and I used the same colors as I did on the chalkboard, except for the sand bar color. I chose just to use the blue, yellow, and the light green, and I took a sponge and I sponged on the paint and just softening it up and kind of gave him an ombre look, which I thought was really cool. From there, I decided where I wanted to place them, and I just added some wood glue to the back. And then for the top, I wanted to make a bow because I just felt like, I needed that something a little extra and add some more color to it. So I started off with a dark blue ribbon that I got actually also from Factory Direct Craft. And I added 2 loops to each side. And then I had this cool striped ribbon that I also got from Factory Direct Craft. And instead of making loops with it, I just cut 2 equal pieces and crisscrossed them. And then I had this pretty sage color that I got from Walmart. And I went ahead and I made 2 loops with that. And then I finished off with a kind of like almost like a burlap ribbon, and I went ahead and made 2 loops with that. My bow maker is called a Bowdabra, and without it I wouldn't be able to make these bows. So it is very helpful, and I know a lot of the crafters also use it. So I just made sure that my bow was really tight on one side, and then I went ahead and double knotted it on the other side. And then from here, I just wanted to fluff out my loopholes and adjust the bow and make it look pretty and fuller before adhering it onto my cutting board. And I just hot glued that on. I really liked the way it came out. Like I said, it was fun to make. And then I went ahead and put a tag on. Thanks for watching.